So right now we have an ongoing, I think, agreement, or some would call it a concern or an issue with Headwaters Groundwater Conservation District. I don't see it as big of an issue as some may try to make it out, but I do think water is life for our community. And one thing that we need to make sure that we're doing is, in order for us to have a sustainable community, we need to conserve and work to see what other resources do we have in terms of water. A lot of this can come with working in conjunction with other water regulatory agencies and entities. Headwater is one, TCEQ is another. And so to make sure that we're constantly working together, as mayor, you serve as an individual who facilitates negotiations and conversations and a lot of these key topics. And I have great relations with everybody at Headwaters, including individuals on the County Commissioner's Court. And so working with those individuals to make sure that we have water that can sustain our community is important. We also have to acknowledge that we are in a drought stage right now. Everywhere in Texas, this isn't unique to Kerrville. But as mayor of Kerrville, it's important that we take care of that issue now. We also need to make sure that we are really communicating with the citizens. Right now, a common concern that citizens are telling me is that they feel that they aren't getting the truth or all of the information that they need. Communication is number one with the City Council and citizens to make sure that we continue on the right path for our community. I think our citizens are responsible enough and can handle the truth, whether it's, as our city manager says, the good, the bad, or the ugly. So we need to put it all out there and work together, because if we don't communicate, we're not going to be able to have a sustaining community for much longer. And so working towards water is life for our community, and working to make sure that we can continue to grow responsibly with our water resources is important.
There's been a lot of discussion about water that doesn't take into account Kerrville's unique water system. We actually have 5 sources of water. We have the river, flow of the water. We have a reservoir, which is the Nimitz Lake. We have ground wells, which is pumping water out of the ground. We have the ASR wells, and there's like almost 900 million gallons stored in the ASR wells. That's over 300 days supply. And people don't realize it because they can't see it. And lastly, we have a reuse pond. The reuse pond has 99 million gallons of water in it. This water is used to irrigate playing fields, and also Shriner University uses it. Several golf courses use it. To say we don't have any water when we have a drought, what flies in the face of 30 years of this community working and investing in a water plan. We have water. We have a sound water plan. And because we have a diverse sources of water, we have a good plan for the future. Just because the river starts to look scary doesn't mean we don't have plenty of water.
I've been talking with city council members. I've been going to meetings. I've been going to Headwaters. And the city has a unique way of looking at our water situation. We are unique in that we have both groundwater and surface water that we can pull from. But they use the ASR wells, which are wells where during high times of precipitation and high river flow, our excess water is pumped back down into the aquifer and supposedly stored there. But I use that term stored this way with the quotes because an aquifer is a slow-moving river, and there is no guarantee that that water will be there. And matter of fact, when we hit the drought stage last summer, the very fact that our aquifers were so low that Headwaters had to step in and ask the city to make adjustments showed that the ASR wells cannot be relied on during heavy drought periods. There is no 800 million gallons of water stored down in our aquifer for use whenever we may choose to pull it out. It's just not there. And when the river flows are low, our water is filled with organics, and that's an inescapable fact that's just going to happen. It requires excess treatment to get rid of the organics, and then we often end up with safety violations of our water quality. So I have talked with City Council about a lot of these issues, and we're really having problems coming to agreement on how this can be taken care of?
We are a model city for water conservation. We have 4 water sources. We've got surface water, we've got groundwater, we've got reclamation ponds, and we've got our ASR wells. And the geologists will tell you that our water plan is beyond a 50-year plan. And that tells me how healthy our community is. I also want to say that you can go online and seek information about our current water situation and what kind of shape we're in. I know that from 2015 to 2017, we had 23 water violations. And in the last 6 years, from 2018 to 2024, we've only had 5. And so what that tells me is that we are focused on our water. We're talking to people about conservation, and we're in a healthy position.
Well, as I told you when I ran for mayor 2 years ago, water was one of my top 2 issues. And what I'm not really convinced with yet, I think we got adequate sources of water. I'm not saying that we don't, but we have to realize we're in the fight of our life, and it's over water. There are people downstream from us. There's a big town called San Antonio down from us, and there's a bunch of other towns south of us that want our water. And we consider it our water, but the way the laws of the state of Texas have been written, we need to start to do more to capture water where we can legally make it our water. And some of that is going to be surface water. I've long been an advocate of increasing the size of the Nimitz Dam and the lake there, as well as creating other tributaries, because when you get right down to it, or retentions, get right down to it, that's a great source for revenue, fishermen, people enjoying it and all that, but the water's got to come from somewhere. And we're not going to be able to sequester all water to the city of Kerrville. One of the things I think we have to start looking for is more of a regional look at water and sewer. For instance, every drop of our sewage goes to one of the highest points in town. And you put them through lift stations. And for those lift stations, we make bond issuance. And then we get them upgraded. We don't really use sinking funds to keep them maintained. And at some point, we have to start looking at water just not as Kerrville's commodity, but as Kerr County's commodity, while we protect the interest of those of us that are in the city that have been paying the freight to get the water supplies that we do have. We're doing okay, but I think there's a lot of areas that we can improve, and I'd be interested to participate in that.